Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new painting webinar. Today is Friday, November 5th, less than 2 months before we end this year. And I just can't believe it because I feel like every time we do this, we've been able to sort of like chronologically record 2021 through webinars. And it just feels like it was yesterday that we started with our first our first webinar in January, back in January. It just seems like really, seems really insane. But so I'm just gonna quickly mention or show you what I'm using. It was really fun this morning to pull things together in a way that felt playful and a little bit risque, I would say, because the documentary that we talked about during the presentation in the episode, in the Ruthless Dog and Pony Show episode, it's whimsical and charming, and sometimes it's really dark. It gets really dark. So let me see if I can just upload this while I just talk and also say hello to Jen at the same time.
Hi, friend. Hi, everybody.
And by the way, Jen was the person who recommended this documentary, so I just wanted to make sure
Aw,
to give credit.
thanks, love.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see them all.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I will just, I'm going to use a photograph, by the way. I was debating. Oh my gosh, Lois, I'm seeing yours, and that's fantastic. So let me just share, and I'm just seeing Lois. That's beautiful, beautiful. And then I just decided to recycle the candles from last night. And I felt like I wanted something pretty, and then but at the same time something personal. And I started with an underwear, and I was like, okay, this is a little bit too much. Because if you watch the documentary, you're going to see that there's some really private moments. The stockings, Jen, on the floor were incredible.
Yeah,
And
they were one of our favorites.
yeah, and then they also discovered a moldy toilet paper roll that they incorporated. So in one section of the documentary, so they saved everything, but they didn't save everything, but they did feature everything. So yeah, I just put a t-shirt instead of like underwear. So, and one of our t-shirts, and yeah, something pretty, my necklace, and I just did something with a little bit of cheese, and hopefully this is gonna be okay. But yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and start talking about the drawing while we just talk a little bit more about this. So sometimes our premises are simple, like the crystal, and sometimes I feel like they're extremely layered. So even sometimes people don't watch them or don't even read the emails, and so it's easier to jump in. But with this, there's so many layers, and it's a combination of so many things, and um, that we were not sure, but we have a bunch of people actually that registered, but they cannot attend right now. But they will. We have Dina and Darlene and Denise that will watch this later. So, and also, this is going to be a 2-week project. So we're going to work on this series for 2 weeks. And also at the same time, I know that Laura is here live. So Laura, you did a beautiful job yesterday with the still live. And so we were thinking of you. If you want to continue that painting, you don't have to create something new. If you feel like, you want to create something new, go ahead. But know that you can just take this opportunity to continue what you did yesterday, because I feel like there's something about your painting yesterday during the candlelight tablescape that feels like a collection. You did more than one candle, and it's a grouping, so it taps into the idea of cataloging and grouping together. So yeah. All right. So my yardstick, I'm gonna spend about like 40 minutes, if I can less, knowing that I'll be just working on this for a little bit of time. And I just did a printout of the image, and I just lowered it because I want more of the negative space above. But just gonna go ahead and align horizontally points on the tablescape that I feel are going to be important. I haven't decided. I was this morning, I woke up and then I started thinking about this project, and I haven't decided which dominant color I'm going to use for the harmonious or the harmony. Again, the next layer, it's not only doing a tablescape or a still life, but also creating a dominant color. And I'll talk a little bit about it. It doesn't have to be a harmonious tablescape. I just thought that we thought that this could be a good color challenge, but I haven't decided yet. So there were two things or two paintings from Le Cidaner that I really liked. It was the yellow and it was the gray, the one that started everything. And we only found 4, I believe, or 5. So I don't know, Jen, if you have time in between taking notes, writing them, and anything else, if you may have more luck in finding the rest. There were 8 paintings. So I don't know. So that's that. So just like align those things, and I'm just gonna go ahead and start doing my potato shapes, I guess, some axis lines. So there's a little bit of an angle because of the distortion of the camera. And I'm just deciding right now, and I decided this morning that I'll work off of a photograph. I almost brought the still life here, but it's too complicated. And I really want to spend some time with this. So I'm just gonna be a little bit more freeing here and not worry too much about proportions. This is a little bit closer to each other. So format wise, 12 by 16, rectangle, and oriented on a landscape orientation. So, and I'm using, my painting surface is Arches cotton paper. I cannot get the other cotton paper, which I think it's better than Arches actually, in 12 by 16. But Arches has more reputation, more prestige. Arches paper, it's well known. So I think, yeah, sorry about this. Anyhow, so I'm just gonna do a little bit of, I wanna create the idea of a face also with the spoon being like that, and then the fonts. So painting, I don't know, it just, I realized doing this that what the brother and sister did in the documentary, it's much harder than I thought. It's just not getting a bunch of objects and then cataloging them, because there's something creative about what they did that feels really special. As artists, we recommend the documentary. You'll see that it's not the typical documentary. There are moments where things slow down a little bit. So it's a little bit, be open-minded. That's what I would say, be open-minded. But it's definitely an inspirational piece of filmmaking. And I checked the website, and Jen, they have a website. The film has a website, and you can see all the awards. I forgot.
Yeah, there's a ton.
Okay, yeah, there's a ton, right?
Yeah, a ton of awards.
Yeah, it's pretty, they at first it seems such an intimate film that it doesn't seem like it's gonna be taken seriously by all these entities, but it did. documentary. I think it was made in 2018. I don't know if the awards came a year later, so it's not a brand new documentary.
No, I think it was it from 2018 or 2019?
Either or, I think.
Yeah.
It has a great rating. I don't know if that is a reliable source or not, because it's sort of like the Yelp of film. It has a great rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It used to be a thing, the Rotten Tomatoes thing, but I think now it's not so much. I believe I used to watch ratings. I think after COVID, that thing just didn't take as much importance. But I don't know. So I'm just going to continue, take some time, and you guys, it's you. So I'm just gonna talk to everyone. If someone from the future encounters this video and has no idea about painting, so we'll just say that you need to watch all the hopefully thousands of videos already that are gonna be archived. So you'll get an idea of the drill. So not many flowers are blooming on our yard, but you can always rely on geraniums. So here is another thing that I'm deciding. So I just chose a geranium, and I was saying that my two favorite harmonies from Le Citaner were gray and yellow. So how am I going to do this if I have such a beautiful red? Maybe I should do everything in red. I don't know. I'm getting a little bit overwhelmed. I have no idea what I'm going to do color-wise, and I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to think about it, and we'll see. All right, so time-wise, we're okay. I want to spend a little bit more time. I'm okay with the separation, with the alignment, focal points. You guys always, even yesterday was really amazing. So we had a wonderful group of, I mean, I was looking at the photos, Jan, it was just like so spectacular.
I know, we were so lucky. I think we're gonna try to do it again, guys. So definitely have it in your calendars, because as you guys all know, it sold out real fast.
Yeah, no, it was really incredible. So we had a nice group of people, a mix of people who've painted with us many times, and then people who were brand new. And so it's always an opportunity to try to articulate the process again, but using different words. And I tried to, even though everyone was very focused, I love that. And I don't know if you were listening to Jill. It's always nice. I mean, I'm not gonna sound pretentious, but it's always nice when someone has taken many classes before and then gives you such a great feedback. And I really appreciate it. She was great. And then, yeah. Hold on. What I was trying to say was that I was trying to explain the importance of retrofitting something onto format. When we use a photograph, there's a sense of composition being a little bit easier because we already have everything cropped, versus when we paint from live. So depending on what you're doing, if you paint from live, it may be a little bit more challenging to retrofit this in a way that feels integrated, intentional, and has as little noise as possible compositionally. So I tried to explain the idea of focal points, the red flags, getting close to the edges, and this and that. And some people did a brilliant job. But then when it came to the candles, there were a lot of candles literally burning the upper part of the of the edge. they didn't allow enough space to let the flame really stretch out and feel less artificial and more organic. So my point in just explaining this is that if you are sketching and you're using charcoal, just your entire focus right now, I was going to say your 99%, no, your entire full complete focus should be on composition only, exclusively, and nothing else. So try to make an exercise of disassociating any thought, feeling, decision, idea that has nothing to do with composition, and park it outside of the process. So it's all about your format and how we are, our format, and how we are placing elements, focal points, background, edges and stuff in a way that feels we are actually fully standing behind it. Nothing is random. We have a reason why we want this there. The two main aspects here are scale and position. Scale and position. Scale the subjects, the focal points mostly, meaning you may have to enlarge them, you may have to shrink them, but think about scale. Think about scale. And number two, position of the focal points. Do you want them centered? Are they going to be cropped? So that should be our full focus right now, our full focus. So I have enough space on top. This is a little bit off to the side, so I'm not sure, but I don't want to move this right now. So let me just check. I'm just gonna leave it like that. I feel too lazy to move this an inch to the left. And that is just going to work out. Yes, but okay. So I'm just gonna continue with my silhouette. I haven't shaded anything. And because it's us, you can, if you want, skip the shading, I would say. And I know that some of you probably are already going or doing this with a wet brush. So I'm not going to do any structural lines right now. No structural lines. I'm going to do this a little bit lower. And maybe the t-shirt needs to be higher. So this I can change. So I'm already changing some elements. I'm going to change the t-shirt a little bit higher because I want this to give me enough space for the necklace. So, you know, I first found paintings by Henri Lecidonner a few years ago. Not a long time ago, because he's not a favorite of many people. He is not considered revolutionary enough. Some of his work, you could, I hate to say this, I didn't say it in the presentation, but you know, sometimes, I hope this remains for a long time, but sometimes on weekends when you drive on sidewalks, there is someone with a van that sells a bunch of paintings. They take them out of the van, they're perfectly framed, and then they're usually next to a wall that has like a fence, and they hang them. And I personally love that. Even though those are made at who knows where, they're actually painted, they're not prints. And there's a store in Koreatown, actually, as a brick and mortar store that sells this kind of thing. And I think they're produced somewhere else, definitely somewhere else. So you may look at one of those paintings and it looks like a copy of a Sidaner. So it's quite similar. You know, the grapes and the decanter and the curtains. So some of the work has this flavor. And that's precisely why, you know, when you think of post-impressionists, you don't think of him. But I've learned also that that he's highly collectible. There are people that truly see through those paintings and they recognize that he did something really interesting at the time. I have learned to love his work. So when something comes up that feels like with an extra side of cheese on it, I know it's him and I know that this belongs to a bigger picture. But yeah, so sometimes what we do, we go to either Sotheby's or Christie's because it's interesting how, first of all, things are not all online, things meaning paintings. You won't find everything online, thankfully. So sometimes auction houses, they create lots or they create websites for lots about paintings that have never seen the light. So it's a great place to find work of artists that are nowhere else, but they just pop there and then they become part of the internets. So browsing through Christie's and Sotheby's is a great way of getting familiar with unseen paintings. So when this popped up, I was like, oh my gosh, I've never, because usually he's known for landscape stuff. I'm doing, by the way, structural lines. So the armpit areas, this area right here, the separation of the section of the candle holder right here, and I'm gonna do the table. So I'm talking about things personal and stuff. Gosh, I'm a little strange and weird. Aren't we all with stuff, with food? And I like wood. I like to eat with wood. So I love chopsticks. I find that it's so clean and you know, eating things with, I eat salad with chopsticks. Is that weird? Yes, but I love it. So I don't know, there's something not only about how clean I feel it is, but also the fact that if I use vinegar or some acid or some sweet and acid on the salad, for example, I feel like sometimes if I taste the metal of the spoon or the fork, it just feels weird. It feels like it doesn't belong to the flavor. So I always have a bunch of like wooden utensils. And yeah, I use them a lot.
That's
So that,
so funny, Julio. I feel like most people would be exactly the opposite. Like wet wood in their mouth while
yeah.
they're eating feels completely opposite.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, if you apply the same reasoning, probably it's true. You know, it just gives a taste, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like the, um, yeah, like the texture. And I think like this is gonna sound gross, but like the lack of moisture. I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
But I actually, I really love using chopsticks for I guess what, you're usually given chopsticks for. But when it comes to eating, with like bamboo, utensils and things that are more appropriate for the earth, I have to kind of like just have a moment and tell myself it's going to be okay.
That's so interesting. I love
But Julie, yeah, Julie says
I
that she
see it.
loves eating salads with chopsticks too. Yeah. So maybe
You
maybe
need to
I'm the
reconsider, Jen Eldridge
weirdo.
Hansen.
I'm the weirdo. I listen, I do it. I'm just saying it's not my favorite thing. How's that?
No, it's just, I mean, the best, I mean, if you think about it, eating with our hands, it's possibly the most natural
Mhm.
thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at civilizations and history, that's, you know, that's what people do. I think
Yep. Totally.
I always had an issue with, I remember I have memories of my mom like cooking and then using metal against metal. Like she would have a pot
Mm.
and then she
Mm-hmm.
would use something metallic. And it just, I couldn't, the sound was so, you know,
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Right.
And so I think it's possibly a combination of that memory plus the taste and sometimes some bad. I would say when that happens, it's the stainless steel is bad. It's just not a very good combination.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear
The
that.
acid and stuff, and it just feels like,
Mm-hmm.
oh,
No, that makes total sense.
say that again.
I said that makes total sense.
Yeah. But at the same time, I love what you said. You know, it's not moist. That porous aspect of the wood, right? It's just kind of feels
Yeah. Ay, ay, ay.
so interesting.
We'll
Um,
have to hear from everyone how they feel after. I'm sure everyone has
yeah.
a very I don't know, big point of view about it.
Approach. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So I am, yeah, I'm just doing a little bit of shading. Even though we could just jump forward, it just feels so nice to actually give ourselves a little bit of time to, or I'm gonna say, give myself a little bit of time to do the shading. It's kind of like brings things together. It just, it's a great, cheap, easy, risk-free way of integrating your lines without using paint yet. So we had a discussion with someone who joined us yesterday, Jennifer. Jennifer Cayoleras. She brought acrylic ink to paint. She brought her own medium and support and everything, so we were fine with that. But she finally confessed that she's terrified of oil, and we didn't say anything because we just didn't say anything. We respect. Same thing with this issue with metal and wood, I guess. So I forgot where I was going, but anyhow, so I totally forgot. I'm so spaced out. Anyhow, it'll come to me. But so yeah, I was just saying that it's nice to do this, to kind of like allow ourselves to integrate in an easy way. Yeah, I think so.
Leo, the tablescapes that you wanted me to find, I think I found. Is it still from Henri? Is it
Yeah,
still the same?
yeah.
Okay, so I
He did a
found
lot
some.
of tables.
Okay,
It's hard to separate the series of 8 from all the dozens of tables that he did.
right. Okay, so I just listed a bunch of tables, but I don't think it's what you're looking
Okay,
for. So let
yeah.
me go back.
No, that's okay. I mean, if you think like we can just check them out later and stuff, that's perfect. But it's interesting because those 8 were titled the same except for the color dominance, the harmony. And that's the only way that I was able to piece together the ones that we put on the folder because they were named or titled that.
Okay, got it.
I think I'm okay time wise. All right, I'm just gonna jump right now to oh yeah, I was just gonna say something about BBC4. Just speaking of BBC, that's a different story. But before the BBC controversy this week, there is a BBC controversy that we're not going to spend time with it, but it's really disturbing. But last week, Monday, I was driving and we were driving with Kian actually, and he likes to play BBC4 on his car. And there's a show on Monday, I didn't know, that's called The Digital Human. And it's very interesting. I think it's an hour long, and each episode talks about different things about the human experience. And this one was titled Unfocus. And the person the narrator and the person who put it together she was talking about different aspects of being focused and being unfocused. And then she interviewed different people in order to create a picture about the idea of focus and how us humans use it in different ways. And one of the people that she interviewed was a Canadian professor that did a study about photography experience and focus. So in the campus, I forgot where, I think I put a link somewhere, but in the campus where she teaches, there's an art museum. And the study consisted on her taking a group of her students to the art museum and asking them to take pictures of whichever art pieces in the art museum they wanted to photograph. And that was one part A. Part B of the study was bringing a different set of students to the art museum, but they wouldn't take photographs. So then he would just ask different questions to the groups. And in essence, the result of the study, which is very surprising, demonstrated that people who took photographs of the artwork remembered less than people who didn't take photos when they visited the museum. In other words, photography sort of like relieved the job of our minds to actually remember the experience. So the more we rely on photography based on this study, and there were other studies in the show, and we're going to put the link maybe in the notes, the episode or the webinar notes, Jen. If not, I can jump in later. But I love this idea of remembering more from experience than from photography. So doing this, my point is like, we wanted to bring this up, but also we wanted to say that overall painting something creates such a strong experience that you most likely remember the experience more by doing this than by capturing through photography. And I'm gonna do the staining right now. I can tell you, I'm gonna do something weird because I have the suitcase that I took from the car from last night. I came home and I didn't do anything, Jen. So I have everything here with me.
Good.
And I will set it up in just a minute. Do you know by any chance the brushes that I used? Did you know where you put them? Did you?
Question's a great question, Julio, and I have no idea. I think I might
Okay.
I think I have them. Does that mean you have none?
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Look in. Look
But
in the briefcase.
yeah,
There
yeah,
still
yeah.
should be some in there.
Yeah.
Just kidding, you guys.
Okay, I'm gonna set up the palette and really quickly. With some tape. And no, but I actually have the brand new ones that
Oh my goodness.
we just got just in case. So,
Oh, thank God.
but just whenever, if you can find out if there are any, if they're on your end, just so we can.
I have a ton.
Okay,
But
that's fine.
yeah. There's none in the briefcase in your little bamboo
Yeah,
situation.
no,
Oh
no.
my. Okay, great. I have them
We're
all.
so excited.
Awesome.
No, no, it's good that I have this, so that.
Yeah.
Um, oops. So I'm just going. Okay, so I think I'm gonna limit my palette right now. And I'm thinking that regardless if I use yellow or not, I'm just gonna use gray and black for this. I'm just gonna use, I should have done this in black and white actually. So my palette for now will be super easy. Just gray, I'm gonna use gray, I'm gonna put white too. Oh, I need to get some more gray, so yeah. So right now, I'm just gonna do the staining. Oh, no, not this color, not this color. Or yes, it is. No, I'm gonna use chromatic black. Yeah, I'll keep it like a really gray. Anyhow, so Le Cydonnaire, he just he was very privileged. He made a lot of money with his paintings, and he was very successful. And I forgot to mention yesterday that um, the tablescapes were done when he left Paris. So he didn't like Paris. He didn't like the city life. And it's funny because when you see the work, you would imagine that he sort of like would enjoy being part of the whole vibe there, but he didn't. He created an artist collective. Before that, he went to Paris, but then he just moved to a small town and then just got this property, and he spent most of his time creating a garden of the likes of many other artists that did the same essentially. So yeah, so I'm just gonna do black. I'm gonna do black. Yeah, just gonna do black. Right, so let's just go for it. And as my cup is wonderfully filled with other sediments. So yeah, some people say that his garden is as beautiful as Monet's garden. So Jen, if you can find out if the garden is still existing, Le Cydonnaire garden,
Sure.
because I think it will be interesting to see if there are any images. I don't know if, yeah, so I'm using right now the solvent and some black, and I'm just gonna do the darker areas. So if you look at the painting or his paintings, he wasn't interested in hyperrealism. He wasn't interested in, because everything feels whimsical and almost like a illustration of a fantasy fairy tale. So that's another reason why some contemporary art critics, and by contemporary, I'm talking about late 20th century, they were not impressed. They were more interested in other people. But yeah, and his price point, I think the estimated price for this painting, the Gray Harmony, is between $300,000 and $400,000, which it's not a lot, considering that there are some contemporary artists that they sell for millions. So he's not like a major figure. I'm going. Let's see. Oh, perfect. Okay, so that's that, and I'm just gonna continue essentially. I was thinking also this week about people that are people. When someone joins us that never painted before or has gone to classes somewhere else and they don't know what to expect of what we do, there's always a sense of fear. And sometimes Jen and I kind of like talk about it and how to make sure that it's a safe environment to create, and we always strive for making things accessible. And I was thinking about how sometimes we're so attached to what we think the painting should look like. There's a very strong attachment to an idea of a painting that conditions everything else. We make every judgment, decision, everything is subordinate to this attachment to a result, And I just feel like the least attached I am to what I'm doing should look like, the more, number one, the more I enjoy the process. And number two, I feel like in the end, the painting shows that I was less afraid. So I tried to kind of like bring it up yesterday. I know that everyone has heard the term practice non-attachment, it's sort of like a oriental, I don't know if this word is appropriate or not, approach, I guess, to things. But I truly believe that it works. I don't know what I'm using, but this feels really dry. So that's why I'm doing staining, by the way, which means that I'm priming the paper, and I realize how important this step is because I need to make sure that the paper is actually wet in order to have like some fluidity. And here I go. So yeah, just gonna do some shadows. This is very dark. So I'm just gonna practice non-attachment here. Sometimes sometimes I would say if you're tired or if you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, the positive side of that is that you actually care less about the work. So maybe that's a gateway to non-attachment. So that's it. If you're tired, go and grab a paintbrush and do a painting. It's probably going to be amazing. Who knows? Just going to continue with, and I'm going to use a color only. I'm going to continue with the staining, really thin transparency. covering everything. This is a little bit darker, so I'm just gonna bring, this is starting to have a little Sidaner flavor. I love that painting, and this series is so beautiful. So we were reading that some of the issues that art critics had was that they say that he was very redundant on his subject and didn't really show an evolution of work. And that's a valid approach, but, or judgment or criteria. I get that. Sometimes it just feels that redundance becomes repetition, becomes a one-trick pony kind of thing. I get that. I think it's a valid criticism of his work. But I don't know. I just think that one of the words that the writer of the essay on the Christie's website used was a tonal poem, and I just thought that was so beautiful. Something that is beautiful. I think the idea of like being beautiful, using the word poem, and using harmonies. The beauty of using harmonies. Anyhow, it's sort of like I'm kind of like biased. Again, yesterday we were talking about how some people use a lot of color, and Jennifer was making fun of me because she said, I'm toning it down, like, don't worry about it. So it made me laugh, because I think she's only painted with us twice, when we went to the Getty, and then last night. At first, it was hard to recognize her because she was wearing glasses. So I don't know if you remember, Jen, that she was the same person.
No, we definitely had to have like a conversation about it, because like you said, Jennifer, and I thought that was our contact.
Right. No, it's the one person who used the round table.
No. I know who you're talking about. Okay. But when we were there, and you were like, Jennifer, and I was like, oh, this must be our contact. Yeah. And so I was like, are you the Jennifer? And she was kind of like, I don't think so.
That's so funny.
Yeah. But then she was like, oh, Jen from the Getty. And I was like, oh my gosh, of course.
Oh, yeah. I didn't recognize her. I didn't recognize her.
I felt like I didn't recognize anyone.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel so bad. I feel so bad with these things. The other day, our neighbor just drove close to us and I didn't recognize her. And Kian's like, oh my gosh. He was waving to us. And I was like, who's this person? And Kian's like, it's our neighbor. And then
oh my gosh. So, it wasn't the bad neighbor, was it?
No, it wasn't the bad neighbor.
You'll never wave to that person.
Yeah, I would recognize her in like 1,000 miles. Anyhow, so I'm continuing with the staining, and oh, by the way, another artist, I believe we mentioned this 2 weeks ago, maybe not, maybe last week, maybe it was last week during studio time, but we talked about Jeremiah Goodman. When did we talk about him,
Jen? Yeah, I think it was studio time. I think it was exactly Friday. Now. Yeah, studio time. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm obsessed. We're obsessed with the work. Jeremiah Goodman was an illustrator by name, but he was a painter by, or at heart, or whatever the expression is. So he did interior, he did room portraits. Someone really poetically designated this label for him, room portraits, he was a formal painter. He used water base, and then he created these renderings of rooms that were so gorgeous and sophisticated and free. Um, so there's a video of him painting and doing this. And it's so inspiring because he is almost like sculpting. He's very messy with his application of strokes, uses hands and sponges and stuff. And sometimes I feel we sin of over controlling our paintings. And we keep thinking, how can I make this looser? How can I make this looser? And then we just go the opposite direction. And I realized seeing him painting that just being loose when you apply the brushstrokes is what makes it look like it's super loose. So after having this sort of like mini revelation or major revelation, I just feel like I'm approaching this, or my process, I try to incorporate this idea of not being super perfect. And I think I'm getting some results. I'm experimenting with this, but with this idea, being rougher with the approach, instead of like being cleaner, and see where it may lead me. And I see the benefits, I see the point, I see how this really creates a very painterly look, and at the same time preserves the realism, or the representation rather. This is my wash. Okay, so it's 1 hour. It's not too bad. Ideally, you guys, I hope you guys are on second notes already. So, I mean, I'm sorry, on first notes, at least first notes. Okay, I'm gonna take a mini pause. I'm happy about the wash. I used only black. I didn't even touch gray or white. And now the big question. So what color harmony do I want? Gosh, I don't know. I'm so indecisive. I don't know if I should go like red all over and sort of like do red and pinks and reds maybe. Let me just go back to Le Citaner and see again, taking a look at it again. I'm gonna refresh this and just
Yeah, I've added some things, so maybe it'll change your mind.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. So there was something about the yellow that I really liked. Oh, Jan. Yeah, I saw a glimpse of that. There's something really interesting about the yellow and orange. I feel like out of all of them, and I love red. Red's my favorite color. There's something really powerful about this, different variations. But at the same time, this feels like kind of like safe, even though it's titled Gray, Harmony in Gray, but there's so many colors here. I see greens and pinks and other stuff. So this is a good base. So I think, I'm not sure yet, but yeah, come on. I mean, this is just absolutely stunning. So this may very well be part of that series because it feels similar in composition. This may very well be because also the arrangement of objects is not his typical arrangement, because with his work, there's a difference between what he did with his 8 canvases and a typical placement of food and plates and dishware on a table, which feels like a typical still life of a table. He did a lot of those, but with this, there was a little bit more symbolism. And look at the gloves and the ribbon. There's a case, there's the bottle there. So it's not table setting. It's not a table setting. So this may very well be. This is a table setting. I don't think this was part of that series. I'm not sure, but
Okay.
it definitely feels like a similar, or maybe this was the white. There was one harmony in white,
Yeah, so that's what I looked for, the harmony in white.
and this did
And
not.
yeah, this did come up, but
Okay,
I'm
so
not I'm not positive.
maybe it is. Maybe it is. If we look a little bit up close, you're gonna see the pointillism, especially on the flowers. So he wasn't really focused on painting every single detail, even though it looks like very detail-like, but the flowers, especially these flowers right here, are not excessively worked. So it's important also, this even has a certain um, weirdness, the teacup of composition. By the way, I love the dissolved edges on every single object. It wasn't really super sharp. So I think that's also very important to understand, because we see these and we think, or people may say, oh, there is a garden, Jen.
Yep, it still exists and you can go tour it. And yeah, these are the pictures from one of the websites. They're not great.
See if I can. Okay, 1 second. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there you go.
The white garden. Come on. Wow, interesting. That's a house. Okay.
Not pretty.
Very, very, very charming.
See, there's different sections. So yeah, this is the terraces.
Beautiful. Wow.
His roses. And then I love this, the Temple of Love.
Oh, I think he painted this a few times. There are in a few of his paintings.
Mm.
Um, yeah. Oh,
And then you can see them from the time
oh my
that
gosh,
he
that's
was
really early
there.
1907. That's great.
Yeah,
Wow, Jen.
cool.
Great
Yeah.
find. Oh, wow. I love this.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. And that's
And there
him.
he is.
Incredible. Wow. Incredible. Thanks, Jen, for taking
Mm-hmm.
these awesome, awesome photos. Okay, so I don't know. I think I'm just gonna, I'm making a decision right now. I think I'm gonna go for grays first, just because I can always incorporate more color later, perhaps. So in a way, my first notes would be um, based on uh, dominance of gray, and then I will see what happens. I can always work with red glazes later. I think that could be an approach to incorporating a color without committing to it right now. Um, and by the way, when we say harmony or dominance, doesn't mean like this has to be monochromatic. By all means, but we would encourage you to push the color direction towards a range. If you use blues, for example, try to use cold blues and warm blues. And the warm blue may be purple. So it's not just going to be blue, but it's going to be blue and towards purple. And then the cold blue could be more towards a green aqua blue. So you get a range within one dominant color that I think it could be a good practice. And I just feel like with the crystals last week, um, there was such similarity in creating a wider range of hues that I feel subconsciously that's the reason why we enjoy that so much, that these felt like a great follow-up to that color practice. So I'm just gonna go for gray. That's what's gonna happen. So I'm using the medium. I'm gonna use the chromatic black and maybe some gray, chromatic black all the way. And then I'm gonna start going darker to lighter. I'm gonna start going darker to lighter. And Again, I'm just gonna be a little bit looser with my brush stroke. I'm gonna need to um, squint my eyes because since I have color on the photograph, uh, I think in order to really understand um, value, sometimes I have to close my eyes a little bit or squint my eyes. And so, yeah, I think that's gonna be pretty. I think that's gonna be pretty. So let's see. I'm gonna darken the background around so it just gets pushed back. Because there was something about those paintings that feels very staged, very stylized, very sort of like overtly curated, that I just love. It just feels like as I was mentioning in the email, like a shop window, almost as if the items were for sale. And that's why I mean, try to make an intentional arrangement that it didn't feel like the difference between a still life and a table setting. There's something about a table setting that may be a little bit less spontaneous. Let's put it this way. I'm not going to do any perspective on the background, but I think that's where I'm going to go right now. When I'm using the medium brush, I'm going to use the medium brush, not all the way. We'll see how that gets resolved later. And I am just going to continue working. Yeah. And, but thanks so much for sharing those images. And I'm just going to go back. Did we put the Jeremiah Goodman photos on Studio Time or Crystals? Jen, I'm not sure which one we put. Oh, and which one we placed those images. It's okay. Just gonna
Sorry, they're on studio time.
Studio Time. Okay, I'll just get a look later for reference. Yeah, I think. Oh my gosh! In addition to having the red, so the turquoise necklace, so that I have this aqua. So I think I'm doing the right thing because these are two opposite colors in a way. So I'm not gonna let the geranium flower dominate the color palette because I have an opposite color and I could choose the turquoise and then that be the dominant color. So I think I'm going to use gray and then glaze turquoise and red on top, or even better, create a reddish gray and a turquoisey gray and see what happens. So yeah, I think that's going to be the strategy. So we have to multitask intellectually here. And I'm saying this because we are building the foundation of our painting still with first notes. And the good thing about these first notes on this particular painting is that I don't have to think of a color direction specifically for each part of the painting. I just have to think of an overall color direction. So that kind of like facilitates the approach. So that's a good thing. But at the same time, multitasking, meaning, I need to start thinking that, and that's only a premise, you guys, it's only a premise. I feel like sometimes it's important to decide between taking on the challenge, which we believe ultimately will benefit your painting practice, our painting practice, or going on your own because you really believe that you want to do this in a specific way. And they're both okay. But I would say think of an intellectual multitasking in the sense that I'm going to try to keep this harmonious. So that would be my visual goal. So it's going to be my style and continue working on it and all that stuff. but I think color-wise, I'm gonna try to focus on making everything harmonious. And I'm using gray right now as my harmony. And with I'm just gonna use the bigger brush. As usual, it's never a bad idea to start with peripheral areas. So I'm actually happy that I'm doing the background because that's going to help me with the rest of the painting.
Sorry, friend, did you call me?
No.
Okay, making sure. I thought I heard Jen and I was in the bathroom.
Oh.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do some blending later, but just yeah, that's gonna be the background. And then I'm gonna go for I'm gonna really go by the proper order of elements based on value. And I'm not gonna change my palette. I'm just gonna continue with these tones, and I'm just gonna bring the beats. I'm gonna try to create the idea, create the illusion of beats. So there's a difference between creating an illusion and trying to render something accurately. So I'm not gonna, I'm gonna practice non-attachment. This is not about painting beats. This is about creating the illusion of beats. And I'm also going to get inspired by Jeremiah Goodman's physical approach to painting. Because I think there's something really mature about both things. Try not to get attached to a look and be more physical about the process. And I use purposely, I think the word mature just in the sense that there's honesty in knowing how much being afraid affects the result of the painting. So that's just gonna be, that's not too bad actually. So the practice non-attachment. I wouldn't know what to do if someone would tell me this in a painting class. I would say, what the heck is this supposed to mean, and how am I applying it to my process? So I'll work on it, but yeah, I'll work on trying to explain it, but it just works. I think it just works. All right, so that's my second darkest. Done with that. I'm gonna go to the geranium, and I have to here do a very, look, I'm just citing very bold exercise in just focusing on contrast. What are the areas where there's more contrast between the flower and the surroundings? So I'm using gray and I'm using a little bit of white. And I know that there's a color direction from the left to the right. So, and this is very similar to the background. So I'm on first notes. I'm sticking to monochromatic right now based on gray. I made the decision. And right now, I'm trying to also follow the sort of like textbook definition of first notes. Darker to lighter. I'm just going by the value book or chapter. And see what will happen here. I don't know, but we'll find out. What would be your, Jen, your sort of like criticism or your commentary on his work? Do you think like, it looks very commercial, Jen? Or is it kind of like too cheesy? Or do you see something?
I think that I think he has got really amazing like not amazing, but I really love his technique and the way that he paints, and I love that the idea behind it, especially the harmony paintings. I think just the selection of what he decided to paint is just kind of because it does make it feel very cheesy and commercial, when I think that he's probably a lot more talented than he showed.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's probably like, I don't know, like a really gifted actor in a subpar show,
Great analogy. I love that.
And then they're not really given that, next set, that next opportunity because the show tanked or no one took the show seriously, when really, they're really gifted and weren't able to kind of show off their work or something. Or even like a ballerina that had like one terrible audition and then, was in the back of, Swan Lake or whatever. I can't think of anything. And then, never kind of was able to gain that notoriety to then, be the prima ballerina that she deserved to be, or, that she could be.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are great points. I like the analogy. Yeah.
Because did he pay the bills doing this kind of work?
He did. He was extremely successful.
Right.
He was at the time he was extremely successful. He was completely ignored by art history for a very long time. And in regards of like his work being shown in museums, it hasn't been shown in major museums. It's now becoming more appreciated, but at the time he made a fortune painting like this.
Well, shoot. I mean, there you go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's, obviously the question of, all artists is like, how much do you sell out, to, make a living doing this? And I mean, I have to say, like, sometimes there comes a point where you're like, I need to feed my family and I want to keep doing this and I want to do this. And if this is what that means, then I don't know, maybe I do this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least it wasn't the opposite, where it was like, someone that, I don't want to name names, especially because we're being recorded, but someone that maybe wasn't this incredible painter, but got the notoriety of one.
Right. Yeah. What do you mean?
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah. Interesting.
What do you think, Julio?
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. It took me a while to warm up to his work.
Yeah.
Because who was the Fontaine-Latour? I think the guy who did those spectacular hyper-realistic flowers. I think it was Henri Fontaine-Latour.
Yeah, I was thinking of him.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I know.
Just gorgeous. Right. Yeah, I mean, I think this is terrible, but I think maybe he's a little more Thomas Kincaid than,
Yeah. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say that, because that kind of like what comes to mind,
Hmm.
that aspect of like doing the same thing and then, having a specific theme, and it just feels like that a little bit, honestly.
Everything having the same focal point value, like all of that. And it's just too much.
I would say I don't think I've ever seen a Thomas Kincaid that I ever liked, but
Hmm.
I love a bunch of uh, the Henry, whatever the last name I forgot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Satinaire. Yeah,
I love a lot more. There's some work that I feel like it's really beautiful.
right.
Not everything, but yeah, I agree with you in that sense. It's a good analogy.
I mean, he seems pretty prolific too. I mean, it seems like he made a lot of work. Is that right, Julio, or
Yeah, he
no?
did. He did. I mean, he was able to sustain himself, his family, and everything, and leave the scene, leave Paris,
Mm.
and just garden. I think he spent a lot of time in the garden, and so he had a pretty fabulous life.
I mean,
He also traveled. Oh, his
check
paintings of Venice
them
are
out.
exquisite.
Okay, I'm gonna pull them up.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, no, that's a different level. A different, because he did travel. I was just gonna say he did travel throughout Europe, and his Venice paintings are beautiful, my opinion. So take a look and see. So I'm spending way too much time maybe on the flower, but I'm enjoying it so much. Something so um I don't know. It's like it makes me wanna drift with the painting. I don't know if that's makes sense or not, but yeah, I think that's something really nice. So I'm possibly not managing my time efficiently with this session. Certainly not, but I want to do the bottle, but I'm just gonna see if I can do the candle a little bit. So maybe I'm thinking how much time I have left. If I can do the three objects in a painterly way, I'll be happy. I'll be very happy. I'm gonna leave the t-shirt on the table for another time, but just gonna go and tackle the candle. We'll see. There's a brighter part right here, and it goes down, and then there's light on the other side. So I'm gonna spend some time creating values on the candle and see what happens. And again, it's a distinction between creating the illusion and actually rendering something. So let go of that attachment to perfection or attachment to a specific look, and sort of like drift with the process. So this is, I think this is much lighter than I'm gonna give it a try. And also practice open edges. Yeah, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. So I think I'm gonna go for this look. A little bit darker here. And then the candle right here, it's much lighter. So I think I made a good decision with the gray just to facilitate things, and I wasn't sure, so I'm not sure. But I think this, yeah, a little bit the illumination of the wax. I'm just gonna blend this and try not to overwork things too much. Try not to overwork things too much. The wick, uh, the flame, I'm gonna stretch it a little bit. And I'm gonna do it on the other side. I'm gonna, ooh, that's not bad at all. That's not bad at all. I'm gonna separate the flame. He didn't use, I don't think he painted many candles. I'm done with this candle. Boom. That's it. And then the final touch, you know, sort of like really smudging that edge so it creates or automatically a glow. Boom, done. I'm gonna go for the spoon and then I'll do the containers. That was easy. So I'm just gonna try to do darker to lighter. Again, kind of like follow that. This is a little bit shorter, but that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. So I'm just gonna, it's pretty dark. So I'm just gonna, spoons are not easy. We should do more spoons, especially the handles. But it's going well. I would say it's going well. So again, economy of detail first. We are way too attached to a result, and then we think like we have to put a bunch of work and we do have to put a bunch of thought. But I'm just gonna try to keep practicing this concept of not being too concerned about a look and drift with the process. And making the exercise of doing these black and white. If you're using an image from your phone, I would just duplicate this image and then actually doing it monochromatically. If you're using gray, if you're not, even if you're using a color, the monochromatic scale on a black and white image will help you a lot. Sort of like distinguishing different parts. Okay, the spoon is coming along. A little bit darker here, and it's a little bit lighter at the bottom. You know, it's just so, I have to say, the fact that I'm looking at the screen, I'm looking at the screen the way you see the screen. So it's so good that, and possibly the reason why this is good is because I'm not standing up and backing up. So it's important to step away because I see the work developing and I know better. Here's the thing that will become a breakthrough. I know when to stop if I step back and I assess my work than if I don't take a break and I take some perspective. So this is the thing about looking at the image through the screen, because it makes it look like smaller and from far away. So I know when to stop when that happens. So the moral of the story is step back, because the beauty about that, it's not just that you're gonna take perspective, is that you realize when you've got enough detail. That's it. How about that revelation? Okay, I think I'm gonna stop. Spoon, this is to be blended a little bit more. And this is a little bit darker, but there's an edge here. I'm getting a little bit too fussy right now. Getting a little bit too fussy. It already looks like a spoon. I need to stop. I'm gonna stop right now. Wow, I'm very impressed with the speed of all the um, objects. Okay, so I think my next step will be to work on the containers. I want to sort of like close the gap between the objects that feel like a little bit more rendered and then the rest of the object. Yeah, so the rest of the object. So I'm going to do the glass, the frosted glass and the crystal. That would be my next step. And then I don't know if I'm going to have time to do the t-shirt, but I'm going to give it a try. And I'm going to do the words, the painting words on the t-shirt another time. I don't think this is going to be part of the equation today, but here we go. I'm just going to work on the bottle, glass bottle here. Did you find any Venice? Is it different? Do you think like it's a little bit more sophisticated, Jen?
Yeah. There's a couple I posted four, and I'd say two of them I think were really beautiful.
Cool.
I mean, they're all beautiful. It's just kind of what you like.
Thanks for sharing
I
that.
think I like someone named Julio Penafeo more.
I'm sorry.
I think I like an artist named Julio
Oh.
Penafeo more.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, just gonna keep working. Um, yeah, okay. So I that's bottle number one. And again, Jeremiah Goodman, don't be too worried about the results. And just if you want to know when to stop, step back and see what kind of illusion you got already. Because I think that's what I love about looking things through the camera. I think so. Wow. I'm really impressed. I'm going fast. I think that's good. All right. So glass. I think people did such a phenomenal job last night, Jen. I didn't think people were going to nail it so
Oh my
beautifully.
gosh, seriously. It
Right?
was stunning work.
Yeah.
I loved everyone's composition. I loved, like we talked about there, how different they all were,
Yeah.
differently painted. It was really beautiful.
Yeah, it was good because, I feel like, thinking, oh, a candlelight escape. It
Mm-hmm.
sounds so romantic and beautiful, but as a painting subject, how are we going to paint that? So I was a little
Right.
concerned because there were a few new painters. Not only they were new, but they got recommendation by other people. And when you recommend something, I feel like you have a tendency. I have a tendency of just saying how good it was that sometimes turns out into a little bit of a deception on the other side when they experience it. So I just feel like it was an added pressure of the experience not being as good as the friend told him it was going to be. But it was. I think it
I
was. It's
know.
pretty.
I fear that too. I feel like I kind of check in with those people the most.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I forgot to take photos of Denise's painting. So I need to.
Oh, I bet she'll do that for us.
Yeah, yeah. So with the crystal, I'm gonna do texture because people, I mean, how do you paint glass? And then this question came up yesterday, and so there shouldn't be a question about how do you paint blank, because we paint everything the same way, whether it's glass or metal or skin. We try to disassociate what we're painting with what it's supposed to look like, and that's how we do it. So I just look at this and I see different shades of light and dark. So I'm not, in my mind is not saying, okay, I'm painting glass. No, I'm just painting values. I'm just painting values. Um, will they look like glass? I don't know. I have no idea, but that's not my job. My job is to focus my energy in looking at where and how the marks are organized. I'm using a very traditional criteria, value, darker to lighter. I place the darker notes first, and then I'm just going over the lighter notes with white, putting less pressure so the white stays. And yeah, that's all I'm thinking right now, all I can do. And we'll see what happens. But um, I'm trying to simplify, and also I'm trying to in the back of my mind, I'm experimenting with not trying to be way too accurate. Thinking of these painters that I look and I love, and even though we may not be painting, my recommendation would be look at paintings, look at as many paintings as you can. So might as well, we are totally kidnapped by our the phones for one reason or another. So it's so hard to open up time, and that's not good for us as a community. Because I feel like, whatever free time that we have, it gets completely devoured by consuming digital stuff, and then our days are gone. So make the best of that time. It's so hard to pull ourselves away from our phones. So if you are, at least look at as many paintings as you can. So we have like a Pinterest, Ruthless Painters. There's a profile. So to us, Pinterest is a good place to quickly browse and pin paintings that we like, discover paintings. So yeah, friend or follow profiles that show a lot of paintings and nothing but paintings. And the reason is because even though nothing substitutes painting, at least you get exposed visually to different styles. And maybe you come across a painting that takes your breath away for some reason. And then you want to experiment, explore, give it a try. Why do I love this so much? I love the subject. I love the style. I love the fearlessness. Spend some time just reflecting on it and saying, oh my gosh, whatever your mind takes you. I love this so much. I mean, obviously we're gonna think, I wish I could do like this and stuff like that. Oops. Oh, I think my phone, something happened to my phone. 1 second. 1 millisecond. Here we go. Oh, got it. Okay, I think that's it. 1 second. Okay, perfect. And something happened to my phone. So yeah, I was just mentioning that that's something that I try to do. I try to be more mindful. It's not easy because it's not easy, but I feel like if I consume paintings and um, look at paintings, um, it has somewhat of a positive effect on my practice, my painting practice. Again, I get inspired, especially with um, uh, watching someone paint also, and do kind of like crazy things with rags and the sponges and like this painter that I'm just being so um, obsessed about. Okay, so I'm gonna spend some more time with the crystal. I just because I love it, and yeah, I'll see if I can just bring some whites here, and I'm not trying to be exact. I'm just trying to find if I can create the idea or the illusion of lighter and darker. Yeah, I think it's working slowly. I'm gonna bring the candle down, and I'm gonna bring the other area down. So I'm using medium brush and trying to approach this. I think so. I think so. It's kind of weird that it's tilted, but I kind of like it. Um, okay, so here we go. And I'm gonna bring some color in the background to start shading the background and bringing form from the outside. Because I feel like that's gonna help define the form, as we know, working from the outside in. I did it on the actual table. It just brought a little bit of a shadow. I think the shadow is too dark. So I'm gonna lift it a little bit more because otherwise it doesn't look transparent. It's crystal after all. So this shouldn't be too dark. So understanding the physics of light without thinking of physics. Okay, so I think that works. Maybe some more gray at the bottom. And it's kind of nice not to think about matching color right now, to be honest with you. A little bit of darkness. So looks a little metallic, but that's okay. I think I'm okay with that. My gosh, I'm gonna go for the t-shirt. That's it, I have time. So I'm gonna go for the t-shirt. Yeah, all right. So for the t-shirt, there are a lot of wrinkles. Should I do the t-shirt or no? I'm gonna go for the surface of the table. Yeah, just because there's so much brushstroke on the t-shirt that I feel if I smooth out the surface of the table, I will do two things. I will define the table and I will automatically also create the illusion maybe of fabric on the t-shirt. It kind of like feels, it's gonna be a weird painting just because a t-shirt on top of a table feels weird somehow. So here we go. I'm just going to see, I'm doing some conforming brushstrokes right now, but just because I want to find the continuity between the segmented areas. Okay, so here we go. I'm doing the table right now, and I'm gonna try to also let go and not be too concerned about what this should look like. I think that's a good strategy. Just do the outside of the table first and even it out. Um, there's much more lighter note on the candle outside, so I'm adding some brush strokes there. I think I'll be able to do a whole full first pass on everything. Will I? I don't know. I think it's looking, I'm really impressed about speed. I'm not trying to go fast at all. I thought I was just going to be able to do maybe the flowers and the flower and the candle, but maybe part of it is knowing when to stop also, and letting go of adding too much detail in order to move forward. Maybe that's that, but we'll see. So again, I'm just doing this unified surface. Unified surface. So here, this sort of like my hypothesis works just by smoothing the background, at least in this area. Already it has like the beginnings of a illusion of fabric and folds. I don't have to do that much. So yeah, I think that was a good decision. Sometimes the peripheral areas are the key, and we get really stubborn with actual focal points when peripheral areas do the work for us. They do the work for us. Okay, so I'm gonna bring some notes, some second notes on the table, because there's the edge. I love corners and how they change color. Right here, there's definitely a little bit of table at the bottom right here. The fabric comes out forward more. And then there is, I'm gonna do the fold, the cascading thing. That was an issue yesterday with the tablecloth that draped. There was so much contrast between the top of the tables and the draped tablecloth, but yet because we thought it was the same fabric, we didn't paint the contrast. And that's what association does. Instead of like seeing the high contrast and making two different values, people painted the same color for the entire fabric, whether it was illuminated or on the shadow. We need to sort of like exercise our brains to be more observant. So Kian came yesterday and after work, and it was nice to see him, obviously. But then he said, I forgot how healing this is, and how great I felt. And at the same time with Laura, precisely, we were also talking about that component of this feeling like feels good. All right, yeah, I'm just doing that cascading edge. I love the edge right there, and I think it kind of like helps create the idea of a table of sorts. My goodness, yeah. I am learning myself a lot with this paintings, I think. I feel like I'm learning. So I'm just continuing with that, this is distinction, and let's not forget um, our friend, the rat. I think that's good. It's probably still, it's very dry right now already, the paper. But yeah, just gonna continue. Maybe I'll just, I think I possibly need to bring like a lighter tone on the other side and then do the blurring. So that's what I'm gonna do. And here we go. And I'm gonna change and exaggerate this corner right here. Okay, I think that's perfect. This is way too dark. I'm gonna wipe it off and make it a little lighter. Yeah, there's a little bit of a glow um, from the light also on the t-shirt. So I'm gonna bring that glow from the bottom. And you'd think this is not important for the rest of the painting, but it is affecting the rest of the painting. No question about it. Yeah, just gonna continue with the I'm moving to t-shirt right now, I should say. I'm moving to the t-shirt and then trying to um, build some surface along the edge so I can show that the t-shirt cascades. I feel like that's an important part. Le Citadel, that's right, I forgot. Between Fontaine-Latour and Le Citadel, it's that's pretty good, I would say. So I'm just gonna get just some oil. I love this mixture of stand oil and linseed oil. Stand oil is um, way too thick. Linseed oil, it's way too thin. If you ask me, I feel like linseed oil is way too liquid. So I think mixing those two, and it kind of like feels very natural also. And there is a darker edge right here. I'm trying to bring this darker edge a little bit. Yes. Let's bring that darker edge. This painting's gonna run, you know, by the time I finish lunch. So I'm gonna make sure that I put it flat because there's a lot of oil. Lots of oil. Okay, we'll leave it like that. Okay, so I think strategy-wise, so I'm not gonna have time to do the t-shirt after all, but so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work by expanding my painting area, meaning like I'm gonna take this section right here and I'll be working on this and the adjacent areas until 105. So that is going to be my strategy because I know that I won't be able to do the whole thing. So I'm just going to go by expansion. Aleutian Freud, I should say. Although I should have mentioned or his name as a reference because he was a pretty terrible individual and person. And yeah, but yeah, we'll find another artist. Anyhow, so a little bit darker right here. I'll do the folds, these interesting folds also later. There's a pinch on the fabric here. So maybe I will do it a little bit right here, and then with a highlight on the other side. Not very successful, but that's okay. And I'm just gonna blend this that way, kind of like see what happens if I'm a little sloppier following. Um, yeah, I think overall, yeah, just gonna continue. I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna continue. I think it's going well. Has a little bit of a highlight here. Just bring it from the armpit. If you're using white, just use very gentle pressure, and then you'll get the white on top of, yeah, here we go. Darker line right here. So another fold of the t-shirt, right, dropping right here. And I want to do the edge, I mean the shadow, the cast shadow of the necklace, because I feel like it's important to show that the necklace is not drawn on the t-shirt. It stays on top. So I think that would be my last thing to do, kind of like create the shadow, same way that I did the shadows on the two bottles. Let's do it. So yeah, already I think that's good. Bringing this tone right here. And some of the t-shirt highlights. Maybe I'll just subscribe to a very classical technique of working highlights at the end of the process. So I'm just gonna work on highlights right now. Super bright highlights. Perhaps that's just gonna help me build this distinction between left and right. The shadow needs, I mean, the spoon needs a little bit of a shadow also. So I'm gonna try to bring some shadow on the spoon. Ay, 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 that was a little bit too much. So bringing, yeah, I think that's good. Again, using the rag. This rag is like so dirty and full of like paint. Look, it just leaves so much paint on my fingers. I don't know why I'm not changing it, but at the same time, there's precisely this randomness that gives me some cool effects. Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna close the charcoal gap that I still have from the top of this area. Yeah, excellent. I think so. I think so. I love to have the light on both, on this side and on that side. So I think that works. Maybe bringing some highlights. Again, highlights are a good idea at this stage. Oh my gosh, I have still a few minutes that I could do. Sometimes rushing could just put you in that mode of detachment. So you don't have time to control things too much. So you just apply, and that spontaneity, I will never learn how to spontaneity will make the painting look a little fresher. Spontaneity. One day. I'm actually covering much more of the t-shirt than I thought. I thought I was going to be concentrating on this a lot more, but now that there's a lot more white, that I have the beads on top. Whoa, 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 that's tons of white. Oh, okay. I feel I can just play around with some of the wrinkles on the sleeves. And then really increase the white, the sense of light from the left. I think so. I think so. I think so. At least this area, I'm happier and happier. This area of the grouping, the t-shirt. That looks like a necklace. Yeah, I think so. All right, one more minute. There's some really white area right on top on the necklace. So I'm gonna bring that. I'm not gonna do the color of the t-shirt yet, but I think I can bring the full-blown highlights here. For now, where else? In this area. And maybe the shadow under the armpit. Yeah, that could be a good idea. Shadow under the armpit. So it separates the surface of the table. Yeah, that works. From the t-shirt, it gives the t-shirt a little bit of like body and elevation compared to the table. And then there's a little bit of lightness on the table right here. So I'm just gonna bring the lightness. And I'm gonna blend this. I am gonna stop right here. My hands are like nuts. I have to say I'm extremely opening the window because the orange oil is driving me a little crazy and it's beautiful outside. It's too much concentration. I need to get a small fan. All right, so let's reconvene at 1:15. Stretch, drink, use the restroom, and grab a bite in that particular order. And also don't forget to take a photo and upload it. I'm extremely happy about this stage. I'll take a picture and share it. And we'll talk more about non-attachment and see what kind of like direction you have decided to take this harmony with. All right, so 1:15, let's get together. I'm gonna stop the recording and then we'll reconvene in 10 minutes.